That's some fancy ass shit. I'm learning the way of the StreamYard. I've had it paid as a paid thing for ages. And I have never taken advantage of it. My hair is a hot mess today. I really want to put my hoodie up, but I shouldn't. Anyway, hello. Hello. It is 2:30 and here we are. I am live streaming because I said I would every day. Today it's going to be a little bit shorter because an hour absolutely roasted me yesterday. Well, it was technically 2.5 hours, all in all, because I completely forgot I was on a podcast show, and it turns out that podcast show wasn't about tech, audio tech. It turned out it was one of my my crusade shows in regards to my mother's departure and helping people kind of around that. So it was super heavy for that, and then getting on and wittering on for about an hour kind of it took it out of me. So I'm doing 30-minute maximum lives, where let's go into comments here, where I help you. I introduce you to something new, and in today's show episode, we'll be talking about audiobooks because that's actually my main bread and butter. That's what I've been busy doing for the last 2 years, apparently, which is crazy. I only thought it was 1 year, but Facebook told me it was my 2-year anniversary with AudioFy yesterday, on the 2nd of December, which is wonderful. So when it comes to getting your audiobook online, a lot of people don't even know like the first step. So when you're creating your book, everyone knows that, you know, if you want to just self-publish, you can self-publish on Amazon, you can self-publish with Kindle. And the back end for Kindle and Amazon is KDP. When it comes to audiobooks, there is also a back end, and the back end there is ACX. I think it's Author Connection Hub or something, I don't know. And that's what I'm going to be talking about very, very superficially. It might take less than half an hour. If people start popping in with questions, I will happily answer them. And I just realized that StreamYard's being weird again, so I'm going to mute my phone, 2, go into the book of faces, 3, check my own live stream because technology hates me. Just to see if anyone's saying hi. If you're not, then that's cool. Oh, look, it's me on my phone. Anyway, yeah, so for the next maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, who knows, I'll be wittering on about how you start the process of creating an audiobook and getting yourself onto Audible. So I'm going to share my screen and do something super fancy like so. Oh, look at that. Technology being amazing. And this is ACX. Super simple. It's acx.com. The end. This is where you go to start your journey in creating your audiobook. Now, on this area where it says turn your book into an audiobook, very self-explanatory, before you even think about logging in or whatever, you would go and find your book. Now, I'm going to use a client that I've worked with. Do that just as an example. And there we go. So this is Leah Newman, and I worked with her, I think in 2018, must have been 2019, beginning tail end of 18, 19. And yeah, so with her, she was not in England, obviously. She was overseas in America, and being free-spirited in an RV, just living the life that I really want to live. And essentially, I helped her figure out how to record without a studio, because you can record an amazing audiobook without a studio. Now, before I kind of go into that side of things, I want to just kind of reel myself back into here. So you see here, if you had the book unstuck yourself and you hadn't claimed it, so we've already gone through the entire process and it's already on Audible, you would be using a button like this, which is "This is my book." And you would need to use the same account as you did on KDP for the author connection to happen. because if you don't do that, then it won't work. And obviously, this is a way to stop people from just claiming whatever they want. So, for example, if I wanted to claim facts of free thought, facts of free thought, you go in and it will ask you these two things. So if I already had audio files for this, or if I'm looking for someone to narrate and produce my audiobook, I would go into one of these two things, continue, and it would ask you to log in, right? Now, I'm not going to log in with these details because it's just going to throw me off. I'd rather not do that. But that's just as far as I'm going to get there. So your first line of things is to claim your book. You don't have to. You can always just sign up and log in. So I've already got a couple of accounts on here. So I'll just do this because it's already set up and it's easy just to at least show you the back end. So this is the back end of ACX. I'm in my studio profile. I do have a narrator profile as well. And this would be where, as and when you have projects and they're in production, you would have the in production hub and there'll be a number. If you have one book, obviously one. If you have more than one book, obviously the number goes up. And as and when you have completed projects, they go in here and your nice little heads up display gives you how many units are sold. And that's kind of a way for you to keep on top of whether you need to promote your book more or you're doing okay. So when you go in here, the most important thing you need to do is understand your role as an author who narrates, because most of the people who are watching this, right, I implore you, if you are an author, if you are a speaker, if you are a coach that needs to have a perceived form of expertise in your field and you have a physical book, narrate your own book. The end. Okay. If you're not a speaker or you don't really want to kind of have your voice online, then fine, you can find a narrator. You can even use my voice if you want. But I promise you, and I'll show you with Leah's book, that narrating your own book introduces people into your world, right? And this is one of those low-cost introductions into your world. And it's really important for people to get a feel of who you are. Yes, writing has a voice. Your voice has more voice than writing, okay? And with an audiobook, there are so many things you can do. It's insane. I'm listening to David Goggins at the moment. I've been avoiding listening to it for ages, but I'm finally kind of ready for it. Stay hard. And, listening to his book is part podcast, part audiobook. A little niggle that I have with it is that he's not actually narrating it. His ghostwriter is, but you kind of get a feeling for it anyway, which is still better than, just reading the thing and kind of getting that. And also the podcast snippet kind of experience. Well, it's not really a podcast. They're just talking in between chapters. Is an experience you can only get as an audiobook. You can't really put that experience into your written book. So an audiobook is not just reading verbatim. An audiobook is an entire audio experience. It doesn't have to be an audio drama. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles and everything going on. I was reading Amanda Palmer's book. It's all about the gift of asking and learning how to ask and being comfortable with it. And she has music in there and loads of other things going on, which is wonderful. But for most of you, that's not what you need to do, right? You are essentially an entrepreneur in some form of business or service, or probably have a product, and your book is part of your expertise and part of your client's journey into understanding who you are and the entire process, right? So huge diversion aside, I should have brought a glass of water, but anyhow, I'm just going to swallow away. So in this section, you have authors who narrate, right? So this is basically going to be you with your one book. If you have more than one book, then that's fine. I'm just going to jump in and see if anyone's on YouTube asking things. No, they're not. So in here, essentially, like if you logged into ACX and you read everything on the side here, so about ACX, so the back end things, how it works, your author's narrator section, which is down here, production resources, how to promote yourself. If you read and understood all of that, you do not need me at all. You don't need anyone. There are plenty of people on here who are doing their thing without needing a sound engineer or audiobook professional like myself, right? The thing they don't really mention is having an ear for mastering takes a long time. I have been noodling with mastering since I started learning about sound production and audio engineering from 2003. Basically 2002, I started studying music technology at A level. So 2002, 2003 till now, I have been refining the ability to hear and create what sounds good versus what's kind of subpar, which is one side. But the main thing that they don't really put in here is the amount of time it takes for you to edit your own book, right? So they go here, right? You have narrating your own book. There's good reason, blah blah blah. There's a video there. I'm not really going to play it. You're ready to go. What do you do, right? So they say the process is simple. Make sure your audiobook is ready for upload. And there's these submission requirements, right? Which are actually quite straightforward. There's a couple of things in there that don't make sense to people if you don't understand audio editing. They are very, very simple. In fact, I am going to go in. Let's go and let's go have a read, shall we? So yeah, so the ACX audio submission requirements is something that I actually give to people. If you guys have ever sent me a message asking, I want to do an audiobook, I want to do it on my own, are there certain resources that I need to be aware of? This is the thing that I will send you. This is the link that is saved in a notepad for me to just copy and paste on my phone, on my laptop, wherever. Because if you don't meet these requirements, especially this bastard, I have to put explicit on this video, damn. If you don't meet that specific requirement, and I'll read it out if it's not clear to you, measure between -23 dB and -18 dB RMS and have -3 dB peak values and a maximum of -60 dB noise floor, which sounds like absolute gobbledygook. Basically, it's a measurement of loudness, and they want you to kind of stay within a very specific range. And within that range, they also don't want a lot of noise in the background. So if I stay quiet, I'm pretty sure that that between StreamYard and the microphone, it's killed out the background noise, but there's a very, very small amount of background noise that exists. And the noise floor is the maximum amount, even though it's minus 60 decibels, the maximum amount of noise that is allowed is very, very, very low, but still kind of a little bit substantial. So that has been a hiccup for me in my initial stages of learning this whole thing, because I fell into all of this purely by accident, just so you're aware. Weirdly enough, I've just been talking to Damien. Damien had an audiobook, and I didn't know that editing audiobooks was a viable business option, like freelance gig, whatever, 2 years ago, literally around this time. And I put my hand up and said, what is this a thing? I don't understand. What the hell is this? And I went through the process of got the audio files, cleaned them up. And this is when I had no super amazing plugins that I have now, and cleaned it up and just went through this ACX submission requirements verbatim. So, looking at everything that it says, understanding that each chapter cannot be longer than 120 minutes, having room tone at the beginning, at the end, and free, all these requirements for me are very straightforward. For me, I'm just like, oh, is that all you need? Okay, cool. If you don't understand what's going on, you will be hiccuping a lot. So adding into your editing time, which for every about 1 hour of recording you've done, it takes me about 2 to 2.5 hours to edit, to kind of master as well. So I'm editing, producing it, and mastering it to the final thing. It takes me 2.5 hours. It won't take you 2.5 hours. It will take you longer, because if you don't know your own software, your editing software, it will take you considerably longer. The average business book is anywhere from, I suppose, self-help business books can be, 3 hours or so, and it can go up to about 5, 6, 7 hours, maybe even 9 hours of published audio. So that kind of 3 to 7 hours of published audio can be anywhere from 5 to 15, 16 hours of unedited audio, depending on your recording style. I encourage people just to record do retakes, and I take the retakes out so you don't have to, spend so much time chopping stuff up because it affects your narration quality. Some people are good at it, but those are voiceover actors, and I don't expect you to be a voiceover actor. So that's what I do to help people. So going through all of that, it takes a lot of time. It takes a hell of a lot of time if you're doing this yourself. If all you want to do is just get the recordings done as quickly as possible, which will normally be about 4 or 5 days if you give yourself 3 hours to record per day. Don't do more than 3 hours unless you are a professional public speaker, in which case you can do 4.5 before your voice starts sounding a bit weird. And that's it. Don't argue with me. I've been in the studio with enough people now to know where the kind of vocal quality starts falling off. And I'm a bit of an audiophile. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to those kind of things. So that's the kind of rule that I have. And I have a sheet with all of this. Anyway, huge diversion. So with this is basically your Bible sheet. It is your Genesis. It is the first page of Genesis, chapters 1 through 25. And in each section, they expand on what all these things mean. So if I go up to here, right? So each file must have a noise floor of no higher than 60 decibel RMS. So it tells you why, right? It doesn't go into the details, but it tells you why. So this is, ooh, time is running on. God, I can really chat about nothing for ages. So this is a really important page to have, right? So I went there, we'll go back. So narrating your own book, super important. So all of the stuff that I've just said happens before step 1 even happens. So that could be anywhere from 4 weeks of work to maybe 10 weeks of work, all right? Because you have a life to live, you have other things you need to do, you have other commitments. And if you're completely editing all of this by yourself, in addition to the maybe, 4 or 5 days of recording, you will need, a few weeks, probably more, to get the editing done. And then when you get the editing done, then you do to make sure your book's ready, and then you upload your file, and then you promote it like a bastard, right? That's the simple version. There's a lot of nuances in there. So yeah, so that's the page that you'd really want to go and look at first when you're in here. Now, what I want to do beyond this, is there any more to say with ACX? No, not really. I mean, covering ACX, this is your portal into the world of creating your audiobook in Audible. This is literally the main way to do it if you want to take advantage of everything that Amazon and Audible can afford you as a author with your ebook and with Audible audiobooks. This is the best way to go through. One thing that I want to say, which is kind of fun, between the 2 versions of your book, so your ebook, your Kindle, and your Audible version, if you narrate your book verbatim, so if you narrate your book word by word by word by word, a thing called whisper sync happens, whereby when you're driving in your car and you're listening to the book, right, it'll take you all the way through, but then if you want to switch back to reading your book, it will carry on from where you finished in your car on the audio version. So the audio and the written version can get married into a parallel existence where, regardless of where you're reading or listening to it, they follow each other, which is super cool. But that only happens if you're doing it verbatim. If you're doing a Dave Goggins style thing, it kind of breaks the whisper sync. So that's just one thing to consider if you want to kind of have that, or if you don't, or if you want to do another version. Also, with audiobooks, you can actually attach your special features to it now. 2 years ago, it was a bit fiddly to do it, but now if you have a PDF, if you have a spreadsheet you want people to look at, or anything like that, you can actually email ACX and tell them that you have this specific thing that you want to be attached to your book, and they do it for you, which is super fun. So if you want to give audio listeners something a little bit special compared to your ebook people, just kind of gift people things, fun things, you can do that, and it's super easy to do now. So what I want to show you is how a final product ends up looking like in Audible. So to use Leah again. So this is her book, completely out in the wild, in public. So the length of her book here is 3 hours and 18 minutes. The editing of the actual just raw audio was more like, I think, I want to say 7 hours, 7, maybe 6 hours or so. And I had to kind of chop everything up and squish it together and get the breathing pacing right, get the paragraph pacing right, get chapter spacing and everything done properly. And within that, when you upload everything, there is this thing called the retail sample, which can be anywhere up to 5 minutes, which is what you see down here. And I'm going to play a little bit now, and hopefully my microphone doesn't cancel it out. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Leah. I hate this part of these types of books where someone goes on and on about their certifications and qualifications. I mean, yeah, I have some certifications. I've earned quite a few, in fact. Tad James for life coaching, timeline therapy, and neurolinguistic programming. Robbins Madonna's Core 100 for life coaching. Strategic Brain for life coaching and neurolinguistic programming. And the Institute for Integrated Nutrition for holistic health coaching, and more.
So that has been edited. You'll notice that there's not a lot of going on in there because that's actually really annoying. And everything that I do is heavily gated because I edit out all the breathing, and it's really important that you edit out most of the breathing. Keep maybe 12% of breathing in, and if there's like super quick kind of breaths between words, and it makes sense to keep that breath in, keep it in. But otherwise, it's a really good idea to edit out as much breathing as possible because ear fatigue is a thing. And if your book is like, I don't know, if you were listening to the entire collection of Sherlock Holmes, narrated by Stephen Fry, it would actually be quite exhausting if you were trying to go for a marathon then listening to it the whole day. So expanding on this here, on her book, when you go into the page itself, you have this summary section, right? Where I kind of encourage you to write the summary. I don't do copy that much. I know people who do. If you do need someone to write like the copy for your book, like that can be discussed or whatever. But yeah, so your summary comes in. You want it to be nice and really enticing. It can be just taken off the back of your book. Sometimes it's nicer to kind of adjust it a little bit. And if you've got kind of little Easter eggs for people, you can put that in there so they know like, ooh, the audiobook, like get the audiobook. I've got the ebook version, but like you want to get the audiobook because like these are things. Yeah, so one thing I really wanted to show you is with the reviews here, the importance of the author is an influential part of her book. So you've got here, I love when books are read by the actual author. Listening to Leah is awesome. You know, her character. So if you're a characterful person, narrate your own book. Like be silly, be yourself. You know, obviously don't mess up your lines. If you do mess up the lines, have a giggle, whatever. Retake it. It gets edited, and your character needs to shine through. Right. I try and encourage people to record standing. Especially if you're a speaker, because it puts you in that state of as if you're on stage. And when my freaking lav mic gets here, I'll show you how that changes the way you speak, because I'm sat on a stool right now and I'm still upright. And I sound considerably different than yesterday when I was 2 hours into speaking. But yeah, ultimately being able to narrate your own book is really, really important. Even if you hate your voice, if you listen to yesterday's live stream, and I'll do it again in a few days, being used to and loving your own voice is really, 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 really important. It's really important. It's really, really important. Because you have to listen back to yourself when you're editing your own audiobook, and you need to be okay with that rather than cringing every couple of seconds when you're speaking. And B, to give a performance. If you love your voice and you love speaking and you love being able to have the opportunity to share your message to people, then people will jump onto that and they'll love what you're saying too, right? So high pitch squeak. One last thing I wanna put out there before I'm done, and half an hour is literally just flown by. It's madness. Is the price. The price of your book is not determined by you. The price of your book is actually determined by the length of your book. So the longer your book is, the more expensive it is, obviously, because the per minute, per hour production value goes up. So that's the direct reflection there. Because if you were going in and just finding a producer within the ACX infrastructure, there would be certain things where there's a certain amount of money due to be paid per published hour, which kind of relates back to this. So yeah, that is pretty much everything I had to say so far as an introduction to even thinking about where the hell do you start with an audiobook. It's here. It's acx.com. You actually start with the last live stream, learning how to love your voice outside of your head, getting on with it, getting your practice in, getting used to narrating your own stuff, having that unity between your voice and your written voice so they kind of merge better when you actually do narrate an audiobook. Because some past clients have noticed with their book, when they were reading it out loud, there were super long sentences, right? One, super long paragraphs. The way things were written didn't really read well when you were saying it. They didn't narrate well. So they read okay, but the narration kind of bit wasn't so good. And yeah, all these kind of little things you will reap the rewards of if you start narrating your written work now. So both of those aspects of you kind of work in a whisper sync. Smart shit. So yeah, that's the whole 30 minutes. Wow, that's really flown by rather quickly. Again, if you have any questions, please post them down below. I'm still figuring out how to be a ninja at this live stream stuff. Hit the replay. Hashtag replay if you're hitting the replay. I need to do this at the beginning. I need to get a post-it note. I've stopped doing post-it notes. I need to get a post-it note and stick it by my webcam. I'm also experimenting with different kind of places to record from. So I was on the sofa yesterday. I'm on my little audio desk today. And just figuring out how things are working. So yeah, that's it from me today. I will be back tomorrow at 2:30. There's a reason why I'm doing 2:30. Because it's the freest time I have after coaching clients and my first bubble of work. And also, if you've watched Mrs. Doubtfire, you'll know why. If you haven't watched Mrs. Doubtfire, it's December. It's the season. Go and watch Mrs. Doubtfire with your kids. Do the thing. Maybe not now. Maybe save it for Christmas. I don't know. It's neither here nor there. Anyway, it is just about 3 o'clock. I'm going to do this because I can. Ooh, it's so special. Thank you for watching a bit of it, all of it, live, replay, in the future, not in the past. And I'll see you tomorrow. So, yeah.